In this video, I'm going to show you how you can retire on Palantir with leap options with two different strategies. Let's dive right in right now. So here we are in Palantir. I want to show you guys how I figure out where the top is. Palantir is unlikely to move exponentially every single week, meaning the chance of Palantir breaking 115 in the next week, and then even if it does, breaking 125 the following week is very low. In fact, it's probably somewhere in line with walking out your front door and having a comet fall on top of you. But seriously, we're going to grab the fib, pull it down here. So we line it up at the bottom of this candle down here. And most times a stock will pull back to the 50 or 60 mark. So Palantir is likely to pull back between 92 and 96. Like I said previously, about $95, a pullback, possibly 90. What we're going to do is we're going to buy leap options. And you can dollar cost average these leap options the exact same way you would with shares. So we're going to go over to Robinhood, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what we're doing. What I recommend is going out to November of this year, because my price target on Palantir is between 130 and 150 by the end of the year. You want to buy a leap option that is around 70 delta. This way, when the stock moves $1, the option moves 70 cents. If you're bullish like I am, you very well could buy a call going out to November for 140 and get it a lot cheaper, but the delta is going to be 48. So there's going to be less movement and less profits for you, but it's cheaper on the front end. So if you want to do that, you can, but I highly recommend going deeper in the money so you can sell covered calls closer. If you buy a 140 call option, you can't sell covered calls below 140, or it's considered a spread. Keep that in mind. Now, let's go ahead and look at these call options. I would recommend an $80 call option, 78 delta. This is the strongest. I don't recommend going above 10 to 15% of your portfolio. In fact, 10% at the most. But let's show you guys what you could do on a decent size account. I'll go ahead and buy 10 of these leap options. And you can see this is going to cost $36,000, but understand that if the stock just goes to 130, you'll make $13,000. This right here is almost a 50% return. If the stock goes to 150, you're going to be about 80%. You'll almost double your money, okay? Almost, because the 80 is $3,600. If Palantir goes up $47 more, it'd be very much what a $40 call would be. See, 6,700 plus theta, applied volatility. It's going to be right around 52 to 55. So it's going to be like a 70, 80% return. If it goes to 160, you're about double your money, which is pretty close, a little bit higher than I expect for Palantir. But let's just say that Palantir goes to 140, 150 by the end of the year. You're at a 50 to 70% gain, but to be safe, we'll say 50%. Okay, we'll just say 50%. What we're going to do now, 50% gain means this is going to be about $55,000. We're going to turn 36 into 55. Now, we're going to sell covered calls against these leap options, but we're going to do it in a safe way that we don't fry our chances of losing the leaps. And I'm going to show you how we do that. Like I said, when we are looking at this chart, Palantir could pull back to 92 or 95 and then bounce. And as it does this, we could dollar cost average and add more leaps, same expiration, same strike. So if we have 5 leaps at 35 and 5 leaps at 25, that means we have 10 leaps at 30 at 3,000. Dollar cost averaging. What we're going to do is we see a bounce like this as it's coming up. We'll wait to see for it to peak at a high, and then we'll go above and start selling covered calls. We don't sell covered calls around earnings. For a week or two leading into earnings and the week after, that 3-week window, no covered calls. But that's only going to happen 3 times between now and November. Now, when we look at this stock, the chances of Palantir going to 115 in the next week is fairly slim. It could happen. If it does and goes to 118, we just roll our 115s out 2 weeks and up to 120 or 122. The chances of Palantir now going to 122 is even lower. If that happens, we roll out another 2 weeks and up for more profit. It's highly unlikely that Palantir is just going to keep going up $8 every week. I mean, you figure 4 weeks at $8 a week, Palantir is going to be almost 140 in 1 month. That's not going to happen. Like I said, walking out front of your house and a comet landing on top of you is a little bit higher probability than that happening outside of some astronomical news where they get some massive government contract in the tens of billions of dollars. That's unlikely to happen. And even if it does, you would just buy your short call back at a loss. And because they move in tandem, whatever you lose on your short call, you're gaining on your long call. If you sell your short call for 150 and it goes to 1,000, you're $850 in the hole, right? Well, then your leap leap option is now worth $850 to $1,000 more. Buy at a loss, sell at a gain, you break even, you don't lose any money. It's kind of a hedged position, so to speak. You're really selling naked calls against this leap option because you can't sell a covered call without having a position to cover. And it's not a covered call if you have a leap and not shares. Therefore, technically, this is a naked call you're selling, but it's partially covered with the fact that you can exercise as a buyer. You have the right to exercise this leap option. That is why you need level 3 options, and most brokerages will allow you to do it with level 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell covered calls. You always want to sell 15 delta. You might get caught once or twice in the whole year, which if you do with a 15 delta outside of some astronomically and exponentially good news, highly unlikely you'll need to roll more than a week or two out to correct it. No stock goes up forever, not even Palantir. So that's unlikely to happen. So what you do is we are going to go 115 out next week. That's what we're going to do. To start things off 1 week out, we're going to sell a 115. This is $12 out of the money. This is a 19 delta, slightly on the aggressive side, so to speak. But let me explain to you. Quite honestly, the chances of Palantir in the first week going $12 more up after earnings is slim to none, which is why the first week I would sell a 112, which would be about the equivalent of maybe 130. I'm going to sell 10 of these. And of course, 112 is a 26 delta. On Palantir, 26 delta is not that aggressive, but I probably would go a little bit safer. So to be safe, we'll say you're at about 130 if we're going a little bit safer or whatnot. So right now in those 10 contracts, it's $1,300 per week. If we pull up the calculator, 1,300 times 4, we're generating $5,200. So remember, we're not selling the exact same strike price every single week. What we're really doing is selling the same delta. So we're selling delta between 15 and 20 or 20 to 25. So in this situation, it's closer to a 20 delta. So if the stock closes at 110, $2 from our strike price, well, then we're going to go up higher in the following week. It's not going to be 112 again. It might be 118 for a 20 delta or 119. The stock goes up, but it closes below our strike and the short call we sell expires worthless. All of that premium is ours to keep. Then we reassess the situation. The stock closes at 110. A 20 delta is probably 119, $7 higher, 119 or 120. So we will sell that. Essentially what I'm saying to you guys is if you do it right the first time and go $9 out of the money and the stock runs up $7, $8 or $9, then the next week you can go up again another $7, $8 or $9. So once it works out the first time, the stock has to now move twice that amount back to back in 2 weeks. Unlikely to do that. You might have a situation where you go in the money on the covered calls, but it doesn't happen often when you're selling 15 to 20 delta and you're not doing it around earnings. It would take a massive catalyst. So 5,200 in 1 month, we're going out 8 months before we'd have to sell this leap option. We'd make about $41,000. And let's just say we keep going up with the stock and the stock goes to only 120. And 120 by November is highly likely. In fact, it's probably going to be closer to 130 or 140, but let's just say 120. That's going to generate a pretty decent premium. And that's going to be right around 20 to 30%. So that means you're going to make about $1,000 per leap. So it's another $10,000. So realistically, you can turn 36,000 into 51,000. 2 times you have to roll out 3 weeks. It's a month and a half. You'd lose about $5,000. You're still going to turn 36 into 46. So this is 125 to 130% return in 8 months. This is a lot of money. It's a lot more than the stock market returns in the S&P 500. And if you want to run more of these leap options, you can do just that. If this is confusing you, the delta, leap options, all of these things, you're just having trouble understanding them, I would love to help you. If you guys would like to learn further and boost your confidence and knowledge in the market, maybe you're trying to retire, you don't even know where to begin, or you're just losing money. I'm driven every single day to help students just like you. You guys can see all the profits my students are making on the screen. I would love to help this to be your success story as well. You guys can sign up for my Discord training course, one-on-one coaching, boot camp masterclass, and my mastermind classes as well. The link is in the information box below. You can sign up investwithcorey.com. Just click on training, watch the video, and you'll be able to book a call with my team and I so that I can help you grow your portfolio. But don't just take my word for it. Let's take a listen to what my students, Josh and Adam, had to say.
In just a short amount of time, the program that you offer, I've learned so much, and I've changed my entire approach to investing. You know, I'm much more structured, much more safe, and I've seen consistent, profitable growth. So I started with 15,000, right? I am now at $40,000. Okay. And I'm so proud.
So I started a little over 6 weeks ago, and I'm happy to report I'm up just shy of 20% on my entire portfolio, equates to $58,000. Just the honesty in his coaching. He's available, he's there, and he has just a very, he's very focused on helping people learn and become successful traders.
So you heard my students Josh and Adam had to say. All you have to do is go to investwithcorey.com. You'll be able to click on training right here. This video will explain all of the things that you might be interested in learning about me and my program. And then you can book a call with my team and I so that I can help you. And I look forward to seeing you very soon so we can grow your portfolio together. Even if you have a small portfolio, and let's say you have $30,000 or $20,000, you could buy 3 of these leap options and sell 3 covered calls per week. Even on a small account, you can generate about $400 a week. And then if we pull up the calculator, that will be $1,600 a month, $9,000 for 3 leap options, and you could generate $1,600 a month. If we do this for 8 months, you would generate $12,800. The stock goes to $120. Well, then you would generate about a 30% return on the leap options. So you have 3 options. It's gonna be close to $10,000 or $11,000. This will be about $3,500 in profit there. So we can add that in. So even if you add a $10,000 account, you could turn that into $16,000 in profits, which would be $26,000. And I already showed you how you could turn $36,000 into over $80,000. This is a strategy that works. Like I explained earlier, if you had 10 options, you'd be $1,300 a week in profit. $1,300 a week times 4 weeks, $5,200 times 8 months, minus 1 month worth of rolling, $36,000. The original leaps cost $36,000 for 10 leaps. You make about 30%, which is about maybe $12,000 to $14,000, just depending. It's hard to get an exact number. We put $14,000 on there in profits, $50,000 plus your original $36,000. So you're actually turning $36,000 into $86,000. Now I know when I said that a few moments ago and explained that you make $50,000, you're turning $36,000 into $50,000. That was profits. You're actually turning $36,000 into $86,000, which is a 3x return in 8 months. This is incredible. So essentially, you can go from 36 to 86 if you have a smaller portfolio. Well, then you can start off with $10,000 and that would turn into around $26,000. So either way, you're getting a 2.5 to a 3x return. 10 or 11 into 26 or 36 into 86. It's roughly about 2.5. So it's a 250% gain in 8 months. This is a very strong retirement strategy because the biggest thing you want to do when you're retiring is you want to look for stocks that are stable, consistent, have good growth, good price to sales, and are a good company. Palantir checks all these boxes. So it makes it a very strong candidate to operate this retirement strategy off of. And I've been doing it the whole year in 2024 and into 2025. My students in the Discord are making a lot of money on Palantir. I have students that have made $30,000 in the last week on Palantir. This is a very good stock, and it's going to be even stronger going into 2025, 2026, and 2027, or going through the rest of 2025. And my price target on Palantir is between 175 and 200 for 2026. So if you keep doing this strategy this year and next year, you'll be able to grow your portfolio consistently and generate safe passive income. I showed you how you could turn 36,000 into 86,000. If you went bigger and went to 50, you could turn that into 100 to 120 in just under a year, just consistently watching and trading and selling these covered calls weekly. And you can do it passively a couple of hours a week while your portfolio grows on Palantir. Palantir is a very strong stock, and this is a very strong retirement strategy. The only downside to this strategy is if the stock drops, obviously. But if it does, you'll dollar cost average and add more leap options. And as you get closer to expiration, even if you end up having to roll them out and to a lower price for a debit, I've seen myself at times lose 10 to 20% or 30% on leap options and have to roll out. But even with that 30% loss, 5 months of covered calls still put me at like a 50% gain. As you can imagine, if you lose 30% of your leap option and go from 3,600 to say 2,500, sure, you may have lost $1,000 per leap at 10 leaps, which is $10,000, but you're generating $5,000 a month in covered calls. So if you do that for 4 months, that's $20,000. You're still up $10,000. I have done this for years. And even when I have to roll for a debit or a loss and roll out and dollar cost average my leap options, the stock ends up going up and I sell more covered calls. Even if you factor in having to buy the covered calls back at a loss and start reselling covered calls again or exit, no matter how you roll the dice, so to speak, at the end of the year, it always works out to being 50, 75, or 100% return, and in some cases, 2x to 3x. Usually, and this goes off of years and years of me doing this, I average a 2x return in 8 months to a year. So you could get a 2x or even a 2.5x on a stock like Palantir, but 2x is fairly safe, I would say, or at least for expectations. But if you double your money and get a 2x return, I'm sure you'll be very happy. I've seen upwards of 3x or more, but I like to say 2x to 2.5x is where you'll be as long as you are doing everything I said in this video, doing your due diligence, watching the stock, and you don't sell covered calls when the stock is at a bottom and working its way up. You wait till it gets closer to where it hits a ceiling or a resistance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos on Palantir, like the wheel strategy video and how you can retire running the wheel on Palantir with more in-depth analysis, comment below. And don't forget, if you guys want to sign up for my coaching and my Discord, you can do so at any time at investorcorey.com. Link is in the information box below, and I hope to see you real soon. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, fam.